Hi guys! Today let's make a really cool dress together with my puffy dress sewing pattern. And let's start with the front neckline. So I've already cut everything last night, so I was like ready to go today. And first things first, let's do that neckline. There's 1.5 cm that we need to fold into a double folded hem. It's really easy and I'm marking it real quick with my ruler and like a regular pencil, just 1.5, and then I'm folding it half like this. And then we edge stitch it from the left side. You can pin it in place real quick or use these clips. And then one side, and after that the other one. And make sure you're doing it always on the opposite side, so they're two pieces and not just like kind of the same. There we go. And then we want to overlap them a little bit there in the middle on the bottom. Kind of like I'm overlapping it so the seams are kind of aligned like this. And then I'm putting a little pin to fix it in place. And now let's do the second step. This is the first tire. And this is just a rectangular piece. And we want to stitch 2 rows on the bottom, on the top of the piece. And I'm using a really big stitch for that, number 5. And the first row will be like a footer's width of the edge. And then I will do another row right next to it, also with a footer's width. And you can see my tension is a bit off, so it's actually kind of gathering already, but it doesn't make a difference. So there I go, and I haven't reversed at the end nor at the beginning, and now I can grab the top threads and I can use the top threads only, not the bottom ones, together towards the middle. I also kind of made it really nice on the table and I pinned that piece to the middle of the top of the bodies. So I don't have to measure, I can just kind of gather until I match the length. And now I'm pinning it together, this time left sides on left sides. I want to do at least this one as a French seam, so it looks much nicer because we can kind of look into it. So for the French seam, I'm stitching it now with a footer's width, and I basically follow the first gathering row there. And stitch, 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 and make sure you don't catch anything underneath that you didn't see. I did that twice and you can't see because I cut it out. And then we want to flip that seam. So left sides on right sides on right sides, and we encase that little seam allowance. And now I kind of folded everything really nicely on the edge like this, and I'm arranging the gathers as I go, and I'm stitching with another 1 cm, like 3/8 of an inch. And now there's this like kind of sausage hem there, which is the French seam, or like hem, but it's like sausage, right? So now nice and clean, and we can go to the second tire. And this one, I'm gonna do like a sew and serge. It's okay, this one nobody can really see, ideally another French seam, but this is a cotton kind of calico-like fabric I'm using. It's a very loose weave and it frays like crazy, so French seams are very kind of tricky with that one. So yeah, this is my good old overlock. I don't like to overlock that much because, oh my god, she's like really fast and out of control and a little bit scary. I'm much more comfortable with my normal sewing machine. So yeah, there we go. The front panel is all done, and now let's do the back. And the back is exactly the same thing except for the neckline. We don't have to kind of do it like this, we'll do it differently afterwards. So I've prepared the first and the second tire, and I'm actually going kind of like second, first, and then the top piece. Sort of made more sense in this case now. And quick sew and serge, and now we can continue to the shoulder seams. And these I want to do French again. So left sides on left sides, match the shoulder seams nicely, they're the same length, so it's kind of easy, but take it from the armhole. There is a little kind of extra for the back of the neck, like there should be like a cm overlapping, so we want that. Don't kind of force them to be the same length. Now pin, stitch the first one, the footer's width, and now I'm finger pressing this. You guys maybe know, but I really like to finger press for French seams. Like getting the hot iron there can kind of sometimes cause more trouble than actually like help. So flip that seam inside out, so now it's left sides right sides on right sides. I've pinned it and I've stitched it with 1 cm. So now the raw edge is encased in the seam there. And we can continue to the back neckline. And I've prepared a piece of bias tape here. And now there's a little bit of extra seam allowance. So we align the tape there and we start right by the seam, like the shoulder seam. And I stitch it with 1 cm seam allowance. I don't really pin my bias tape first. I like to kind of shape it while I'm at it, so you can kind of really get it nicely. And now exactly till the end of that piece again, like the seam allowance that sticks out. And now we wanna give it a quick understitch there. So I edge stitch all the seam allowance to the tape. Like this, it will kind of fold and roll over much nicer. And note that I've left kind of like a good piece on each side. We want that to kind of fold it and tuck it in. In the tutorial, I did it kind of mitered, but this fabric is really fluffy, puffy, and has a lot of volume, so it's kind of hard to get that into like a triangular shape. So I just fold it twice like this, a quick pin, and hop to the machine. So now I always want to fold the raw edge of the bias tape towards the stitches. So actually it's kind of in thirds. And I used bias tape of kind of like 3 cm, maybe a little bit less, something around an inch. And now I'm edge stitching it from the inside of the garment really nicely along the edge there. And it's a very easy and clean finish. Guys, don't be scared of bias tape. Bias tape is like holy. It's such a nice finish, and it's really not too difficult with a little bit of practice. So let's clip a little bit, and there we go. It's very nice, and the end of the front neckline there is kind of encased in it too. So now that the shoulders are connected, the neckline is done, let's do the sleeves. And the sleeves are rectangles as well. We want to again do the 2 seams for gathering, and then gather in place, pin it in place, and we sew and serge this one. So 1.5 cm for the seam allowance, and then I finish both raw edges with an overlock seam. So now let's do the sides. The sides are super easy. There's again 1.5 cm, and if you read the instructions, like don't put too much gather on the sides of the panel, so it's easier for sewing. And at the sleeves there, we want to leave an opening. Now I've already stitched and overlocked it, and we can continue to the cuffs. So I left 11 cm, check the tutorial, on each sleeve. So I have an opening for kind of like a placket, but it's not actually a placket. And now I've prepared some kind of rope there, some ties. I saw this trick on Instagram, like to stitch the rope into it, and then it's really easy to pull. And now I grab the cuffs and I pin these ties into the side seams. And now we're stitching the cuffs shut on the sides, including these ties in there. So I'm not going for a pearl and loop or something. I have a double tie. It's really pretty. I want to have little bows on the cuffs. So flip it and reverse it, and the cuffs are ready. And now let's pin them in place. So if you read the tutorial, you have to do 2 gathering rows on like each, like 1 on each side there, like 2 on each side. And now we gather everything into shape, and the beginning there, like the open end, fold it in twice like this, 0.75, 0.75 cm. So this gives us a little kind of like placket finish there. Leave it open for now. We can stitch it afterwards. And now I'm matching the gathered sleeve to the cuff, and now I'm stitching it from the inside of the cuff there, right from the edge, like really match the edges. And there is 1.5 cm there. You can also stitch it with 1 cm if you want to have a bit of a bigger cuff. There's really, it's not a big deal. And now flip it and flip all the seam allowance into the cuff. So I've stitched it first to the right side of the sleeve, and now this is the left side. So now I also flip the seam allowance of the cuff in, everything is in there, and I match the edge to the first row of stitches, and now I'm edge stitching it there from the left side basically, and tuck it all in, and it's really super easy, and it gives such a nice finish. Hop, there we go. And now look what I'm doing. So I'm pivoting now for this little kind of placket, and this is just the seam allowance of the sleeve. I'm rolling it in 075, 075. Now, you want to snip it up there because I've overlocked it together. So I want to snip into the seam allowance to release the tension, and I can go around to the next side there and finish it all off. It's really nice and really neat. So the just last thing now, last but not least, the big old hemline down there. So this is 1.5 cm. I've actually, I was a little bit more generous. I probably did like a 1 + 1 cm. And then I also didn't pin it at first. I just kind of rolled it while stitching. This is really what I like. Don't pull too hard though, or you get this kind of like the twister in the roll hem. So and there I am, yay! Oh, I really like it. I like it with the little ties. And by the way, I'm wearing a sample of the minimalist shirt in the long version in size L. I love it. This is so cool. Ooh, and there, I love this one too, of course. So the puffy dress is really fun. And I made a size S, and I actually did a little bit less width for the skirt part. So this is totally doable, guys. And please like, please subscribe.